What if I told you that the man who built the most magical kingdom on earth once couldn't afford a roof over his head? What if I told you that the creator of Mickey Mouse was fired from a newspaper because they said he had no imagination? And what if I told you that Walt Disney, the boy who dared to dream, faced so much failure that most people would have given up after the first setback? This is the story of a boy who picked up a pencil, refused to let go of his dream, and drew his way into history. Walter Elias Disney was born in Chicago in 1901, the fourth of 5 children. His father, Elias Disney, was a strict man who believed in hard work and little else. His mother, Flora, was gentle, nurturing, and the one who quietly encouraged Walt's creative spirit. Walt's childhood was far from a fairy tale. His family struggled financially, moving from one city to another in search of stability. As a young boy in Marceline, Missouri, Walt discovered his love for drawing. He would sit for hours sketching farm animals, often selling small drawings to neighbors for a few pennies. At school, he was the kid who doodled in the margins of every paper. Teachers scolded him for daydreaming too much, but Walt couldn't stop. Art was more than a hobby. It was his escape, his passion, and his way of communicating with the world. But life wasn't easy. His father didn't believe art could provide a living. He wanted Walt to focus on real work. Yet, deep inside, Walt knew he wasn't born for an ordinary life. He was born to create. By the time he was a teenager, Walt was determined to make art his career. But the world didn't roll out a red carpet for him. It slammed doors in his face. At 16, he tried to enlist in the army during World War I, but was rejected for being underage. Still, Walt found a way to contribute. He became an ambulance driver for the Red Cross in France. And even there, while others were writing letters home, Walt was sketching cartoons on the side of his ambulance. When he returned to America, Walt was full of hope. He applied for jobs as a cartoonist at newspapers. One of them flat out rejected him, saying, "You lack imagination and good ideas." Imagine that. The very man who would go on to create Mickey Mouse was told he had no imagination. Still, Walt didn't quit. He started a small company called Laugh-O-Gram Films in Kansas City. With borrowed money, he hired a small team and began producing animated shorts. For a brief moment, it seemed like success was coming. But soon, reality struck. His company went bankrupt. Walt found himself broke, with just $40 in his pocket. He slept on office floors, ate beans from a can, and wondered if maybe his father had been right all along. Maybe dreams were useless. One night, as he lay on the floor of a train station in Kansas City, Walt thought about giving up. He had nothing left. No money, no job, no home, just a stack of drawings and a stubborn dream. It was during that lowest point that Walt made a choice. He could give up or he could start over. He took a one-way train ticket to Hollywood, carrying only a suitcase and a few sketches. California, in the 1920s, was buzzing with opportunities. Walt didn't have money, but he had something even more powerful: relentless belief. In Hollywood, he teamed up with his brother Roy, who became his first business partner and lifelong supporter. Together, they worked out of a small garage, producing cartoons and chasing opportunities. And then, in 1928, something extraordinary happened. On a train ride, after losing the rights to one of his characters, Walt began sketching a new figure: big round ears, cheerful eyes, and a mischievous smile. That sketch became Mickey Mouse. At first, Mickey Mouse wasn't an instant hit. No one wanted to distribute the cartoon. Walt faced rejection after rejection, but he didn't give up. Finally, in 1928, Steamboat Willie premiered the first cartoon with synchronized sound. Audiences loved it. Mickey Mouse became a sensation, and suddenly, Walt Disney's name was on everyone's lips. But even then, success didn't come easy. Walt pushed himself further, creating Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the world's first full-length animated feature film. Critics called it Disney's folly. They said no one would sit through a 90-minute cartoon. Banks refused to finance it. Walt had to mortgage his house, borrow money, and put everything he owned on the line. In 1937, Snow White finally premiered, and when the lights came up, people in the theater were crying. It became the highest-grossing film of its time. From there, Walt kept climbing: Pinocchio, Bambi, Cinderella, Peter Pan. And then came Disneyland, a place so magical that even adults felt like children again. Once again, people doubted him. They called it Walt's folly. But when the gates opened in 1955, Disneyland wasn't just a park, it was a kingdom of dreams. From the boy who once slept on a train station floor, Walt Disney became the man who built an empire of imagination. He won 22 Academy Awards, more than any individual in history. He created characters and worlds that continue to inspire generations. Walt once said, "If you can dream it, you can do it." And he lived that truth every single day. Walt Disney's story isn't just about cartoons or movies. It's about the power of persistence. He faced rejection, bankruptcy, and humiliation. He was told he had no imagination. He lost everything more than once, but each time he chose to stand back up. His life teaches us this: dreams are fragile, but so is failure. If you refuse to quit, if you keep going when the world tells you to stop, you can draw your way into history too. So remember this: when life pushes you down, don't give up, because your story isn't over yet. Thank you for listening to this story of Walt Disney, the boy who drew his way into history. If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs encouragement. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on the notification bell. Together, let's keep the spirit of never giving up alive, because as Walt Disney proved, dreams really do come true if you have the courage to chase them.